This is a coping saw. It's one I've had over 30 years. Ever since I started carving, it's lived on or near the bench. What makes this saw different from other saws is this blade here. It's very narrow and the ends of it can pivot on these little pins here at each end, which means that you can rotate the blade, you can turn it and make the tool, make the cut go round very tight little curves. Here are some coping saw blades. You normally buy them in a packet. They're very cheap and they do break quite readily. So you need to be able to change them, and I'll show you how to do that now. So here's a coping saw, and what you need to do is start taking off this handle, unscrewing it. But you don't take it off completely, you release the tension in the blade. Then, placing it on a bench, you add your weight to the handle like this, and you can flex the frame so that the blade just pops out. To put it back in, you reverse it, you put the little pins of the blade itself into the notches at each end. As you flex down, catch the pin, and then you just screw the thing up. Simple as that. What you must check is that these pins here at each end are lined up. This is really important because that means the blade is straight. If this blade is twisted, then the pins will be out of alignment. So keep an eye on those pins. You certainly don't want to use it with a twisted blade. That will just break it very quickly. So let me give you an example of how this coping saw works. Let's say in this piece of wood I wanted to take out a shape like this. You can start here. That's it. Now you can use the saw with two hands like this. You can use it like this, depending on what you need to do. Keep an eye on these pins. Keep it as square as you can. Now watch what happens as I come round. See how the blade can flip over. Now at some point I can't get the blade round anymore. So at this point I'll undo the handle here, slacken it off. Then I'll move, holding onto the pins with my thumbs, I'll move this around. So now the blade is now sort of upside down. Tighten this up. Check that these are in line. So the blade is straight and not twisted. And there's our piece out. So that ability to move around is what really makes this saw so terrific. But what if we have an enclosed piece that we need to take out? Well, obviously the first thing we need to do is to drill a hole to allow for the blade to go through. Then we'll slacken off the blade. Now what I'm going to do is just take this blade off here. We'll thread it through like so. That's a little bit clumsy, but so to put it back on, what I have to do here now, because I can't rest it on the bench, sorry, that's so fiddly sometimes. Here we go. There you go. Is what I have to do is use my body here and rest it against my stomach almost, and compress it like that. Then I tighten it up like so. Okay, check these pins. Slacken off the pins. Actually they weren't so tight, so I didn't need to. I could push those around by hand. Slacken off again. Twist thing round, check the pins. and then undo it, release the blade, and there's my hole in the piece of wood. So then, again, very versatile, simple tool. So here's my coping saw, but have a look at this. This is a fret saw. It's very like a coping saw, but obviously gives you a much longer reach around here, much longer. This fret saw is designed to take a very narrow blade, very, very slight blade like this, much finer blade than a coping saw. And this blade, as you can see, doesn't have a pin at each end. There's a coping saw blade, but it's quite plain. It's just gripped here at the ends by a little clamp. But you can adapt that by literally taking a coping saw blade like this and just cutting off a sufficient length to work in the middle. So you can use this blade with this fret saw in order to get into much longer and deeper holes and curves.